So today we're going to talk about number paths, and we linked it to a first grade standard. And I'm Melinda Alexander.
And I'm Erica Wilson.
So number paths help children connect set representation view of numbers to a model that puts numbers in relationship to like one-to-one context. And the standard that we connected it to today was a first grade standard extending the counting sequence from 1 to count to 120 and starting at any number less than 120. So they could start at like 8 or 10 or any number in between. And then read and write numerals and represent the number of objects with a written numeral. And the objective that we would be teaching in the class is I can count to 120. So our concrete activity would be on the I do part where students would get a grid to 120, and then the teacher would have them use their finger and point to the numbers and then count along from 1 to 120. And then we could move into the we do activity where students could be in small groups and teacher can come around and they would write in each number so they could recognize, 1, 2, 3, and then know that they were on track by the time they got to 9 and be able to count all the way to 120. And then for the final activity would be more like an exit ticket where students would work independently and write starting at 120 and write from 1 to 120. And this activity can also be done digitally. I was able to find a digital activity that was free on Teachers Pay Teachers. And that's if you wanted to send it home for homework, to check for understanding, or early finishers maybe wanted to do it, or if there was distance learning.
I'm going to be talking about number paths and how they correlate into subitizing numbers. So number paths work well when following the CRA method, so the concrete representational and abstract thinking. Children should begin to develop a number sense built on the foundation of visualizing and understanding what numbers mean rather than the digit itself. Subitizing is the ability to identify a quantity quickly without counting. And we're going to watch a little video on this.
Another way that you can get your kids to have really strong number sense is by helping them learn how to or develop their subitizing skills. And subitizing is just simply saying that you can instantly see a quantity without having to do any counting or very little counting. Subitizing is actually the basis of all number sense. This is a subitizing card, and if I were to ask my kids to subitize, what I would actually do is show it to them for only 2 seconds. And then I would put it down and ask them how many were there. You don't want the kids to count because developmentally, once you get past the age 6, you want kids to reason with numbers and see how numbers are related instead of counting. So for instance, when I would pull it back up, I would want a child to say, oh, there were 6. Well, how did you know? They might say, oh, I saw 3 here and 3 here, and that makes 6. Or they might say, I saw 4, and then I said 5, 6. So they were counting on or doing very little counting. Or maybe they see 3 and 2, and they know that makes 5 and 1 more. Actually, the more ways you get kids to do the math in one picture, they see how flexible numbers can be, that 6 is just not 6, or it's just not 5 and 1. It is 5 and 1. It is 2 and 4, and it is 3 and 3, or it can be 2, 2, and 2. It's kind of like in reading, when you teach kids the word cat, you might originally show them a picture of a cat, but cats can be brown, they can be black, they can be gray, they can be spotted. Cats can be many things, well, so can 6. It can be many things. And when kids have visual images of how different a number can be, they'll have a stronger number sense and see how they're flexible.
This is important also because it helps build the understanding of fact families, and being able to do that will help students with their understanding of patterns and their number sense up to counting to 120 and beyond. So this is another slide where we were talking about number sense as well in subitizing. And this is just a chart that you can have in class that, or a task card where students can think, pair, share, and work together with their elbow partner. The whole is 4, and we see how many dots that are, like in our very first box here. The whole is 4. Yet the parts are 1 and 3, and then here you can visualize it again in another pattern, and it just helps build that number sense and fluency with visualizing. And over here we have another chart that also shows that and patterns that build up to 11, 12, and 13, and it's just helping to increase that understanding. How here we have 11, there's 1 that's missing, here we're adding 1 more, and then for 13 we just see that it's building. So no matter what the pattern is with the colors, you at least have a visualization of them adding 1 more to it and it changing that number. Okay, we also added an activity here with a base 10, so our tens frame. So if you were to have this as a tens frame in a laminate, you could give this out in the class and use it as an activity to build number sense in sentences. So what you would do is you could drag or ask students, okay, show me 5 green dots. And they would drag or draw that into the tens frame, and then show me 5 purple dots, and they get that number fluency and being able to visualize the difference within that.
It's also a great activity for when they're adding like doubles +1 or doubles +2 to help them see the spatial count of the numbers. And then there's also some kinesthetic activities that can be done where students are actually up and moving. This is just them hopping on lily pads where you would say a number and you would say like 5, and they'll hop to 5 so that they're getting their bodies up and moving. And then our final is we had a video. It's a very short video that goes on to how to count on a number line and how students can use a number line and jumping their pencil in the number line to help them count to 120, starting at say 100. They can also, it's set to music, so they can also like get up and dance to it. So it's another way of getting their bodies moving. And that is our presentation today.
Thank you.